This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. I wanted to cover the symbol X. I've covered it before in videos. I've made mention to it, but I want to talk about it in deeper meaning and how X represents the Antichrist. Now, there's numerous definitions, or at least numerous numerical value to the number, the Roman numeral X. And I'm not going to get into that stuff with gematria and X and which, type of gematria X would be 6 in, so XXX would be 666. Because I want to focus in on how you will see celebrities and you will see the X placed in music videos, how you'll see celebrities doing this symbol, from Aleister Crowley holding the X over his chest to Egyptian gods doing this symbol as well, and how this all really dates back to Nimrod. Now, for those of you who aren't aware of Nimrod, and for those of you who aren't aware of Nimrod, Nimrod is the one who was born on December 25th, the high Sabbath of Babylon. Nimrod is the one who is celebrated on Christmas. And we've been deceived into believing that Christmas is representative of Jesus Christ. And that's why there's Xmas, right? That X replaces the word Christ when it comes to Christmas. People will write Xmas. Okay, all this stuff is right in our faces. And the reason that they do that is because X represents the Antichrist. Now, for those of you who are aware, Nimrod was the founder of Babylon. And Nimrod himself, really, if you look at the history of Nimrod and the things that he stood for, this guy is as evil and satanic as they come. He's credited for having founded Freemasonry as well. For those of you who don't believe that, you can look into the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry, the Legend of the Craft, in the old constitutions. And in there it states that Nimrod is one of the founders of Masonry. And Freemasons view Nimrod as the true originator of the order. And Nimrod, of course, was a great king who found the city of Babylon and established the first great empire after Noah's flood. He is also traditionally associated with the Tower of Babel. Remember the Tower of Babel. God took down the Tower of Babel, divided the nations because they were trying then to build a one world order, a new world order under one rule. And that was the rule of Lucifer. Nimrod also associated with Baal worship. And the symbol throughout history associated with Nimrod has always been X. And like I said, that's why Christmas is really Xmas. Or at least it's not really Xmas. That's why they use Xmas for short. And they tell you it's, because it's so long to write the word Christ, so you just put Xmas, right? It's all mockery. It's all right in our faces. X is a symbol associated as well with witchcraft. Now, I've talked about in music videos how you'll randomly see the X. And unfortunately, people out there actually think it stands for the Roman numeral 10, right? The last video I covered on some satanic music video, a guy's got an eye patch, right, representing the all-seeing eye, and the X on it representing the Antichrist. But people see that and they go, I don't know why there's an X there. He just must love the number 10. I mean, he grew up, his favorite number was 10. He wore 10 on his jersey in Pop Warner football. As life moved on, 10 just continued to be his favorite number, and that's why the director of the video put the X in it. I don't think so. You're going to see X symbolism all over the place, and it's not just in music videos. It's also on the red carpet. It's also on magazine covers. It's also in corporate logos. You could see it in the Lucifer sigil. You could see how they use the X, right? And the V representing Venus. You can see it in movie covers like V for Vendetta, how they subliminally have the X there. You'll see it from athletes like Des Bryant, formerly of the Dallas Cowboys. When they score a touchdown, they cross their arms and make the X with their arms. Okay, this is all deliberately done. Skull and bones, right? The reason that the two bones underneath the skull are crossed and make an X to represent the Antichrist. These are all deliberate things, just like the all-seeing eye, symbolism, the thumb over the eye, people holding up a pyramid, making an X with the pyramid. You'll see actual musicians like Billy Corgan holding up the X, TV shows like The X Factor, right? And how we have no real clue as to why. What is the X factor? Oh, it's the it factor. They have that X factor, right? You can see Simon Cowell, who obviously is a Freemason. The guy's got Freemason jet ski, for crying out loud, or the logo of it on his jet ski. You can see him making the X symbol. Again, Crowley making the X symbol. Other Satanists like Billy Corgan. And then you'll see album covers, or you'll see musicians like XXX Temptation, whatever the guy's name is, who was just killed, or supposedly was just killed. You'll see them fold their arms, not just upwards, but you also see them fold their arms downwards as well. So these are all subliminal poses that you have to look for. These are them letting one another know. This is them letting, everyone else in the Brotherhood know who's a part of this and how these people are preparing for the coming of the Antichrist and the worship of the Antichrist. They are preparing society for this while rubbing this stuff right in our faces. Because remember, all this stuff is to be revealed. And they want this stuff to be revealed because this is how black magic operates. And I've heard people say, well, there's so much stuff that goes on in the news and people have to decipher what's real and what's fake. But they don't seem to understand sigils, and they don't seem to understand black magic and how in order for them to cast these spells and do these things, they have to reveal it. They have to show it, right? It's almost like this universal law. They do that deliberately. They don't do it because they're caught. You have people like Stephen King posing, holding up the axe. I mean, what do you think this is? Everybody's cold. They're going, brrr, right? From Ashton Kutcher doing it with his Kabbalah bracelet on, right? And these are on magazine covers, album covers, right? The X is extremely significant. You could even go and look at things such as Rihanna's Anti-Diary. All these celebrities doing this pose, some of which do it, cross their arms over and hold up the devil horns, right? It's something that you probably wouldn't notice all the time. But remember, we all need to start looking at things this way because our brains haven't been trained to pick up signals or signs. We look and we just look at the person's face and we're like, oh, their hair looks nice and that's lovely eyeshadow that he or she is wearing. Because yes, men are wearing eyeshadow these days. Believe it or not, never thought I'd say that. Oh, she's got, nice lipstick on. Meanwhile, their arms are crossed. Their hands are making these motions, right? Remember, they're not going on these magazine covers or being in these music videos, flashing these symbols for no reason whatsoever. You can look at it almost like gangs, right? Everybody knows that gangs have symbols and they go, oh, he's throwing up gang signs, right? Well, this is the biggest gang of them all. This is the occult we're talking about here. The cult world, the connections to Freemasonry and the satanic underground. You got people like Ozzy Osbourne throwing these symbols up, right? These are all people who are associated with Satanism. They're associated with the occult. This is not them just going, my favorite letter in the alphabet happens to be X, or my favorite Roman numeral is 10. So again, I don't want to be repetitive about this and beat a dead horse, but this is a symbol that people need to know and be aware of. This is their way of showing you that these people are preparing and looking forward for the arrival of the Antichrist. And they're creating a society of people who are going to worship the Antichrist. Because remember, the Antichrist is going to come in the name of peace and love and bring world peace to the world. Right? That's what they're told. That's what people are going to believe. That's why you see all this stuff about hate speech and haters and people can't defend themselves and the bullying movements. This is all to prepare people for this. Okay? This isn't them just loving the number 10 or loving the X symbol. And there's a reason that XXX in pornography, right, which is 666, there's a reason that that's there as well. So you'll see the X and Freemasonry. Some of the, some of the ridiculous, I just call them bibs that these people wear. You could see the X on them. Again, because these people worship Nimrod. And they'll pretend that they worship Jesus Christ, and they don't worship Jesus Christ. And in religions, you'll see the United Church of Canada using the X, the Antichrist symbol. Lots of churches, lots of evangelical preachers who have logos like this stuff. And obviously this dates back to ancient Egypt. You'll see the X all over the place with Isis, with the X, making the X symbolism, to Osiris, to these Egyptian bums, right? Holding up the Ankhs with their arms crossed. And again, all the way to Aleister Crowley, the man that they worship, the man who claims to be the beast himself. So that's what the X stands for. I wanted people to be aware of it because it's a symbol you'll see all the time, but you won't think about it, right? You know, it's something as simple as watching a football game. A guy scores a touchdown. Why is he holding up an X sign? You know, the touchdown's not worth 10 points. It makes no sense whatsoever. But when you're aware of these things, it starts to make sense because these people show these quote-unquote gang signs, which aren't really gang signs, but let's just say that that's what they are. So people might go, oh, yeah, okay, well, I believe the gangs throw up gang signs, but you don't believe that these people are doing it on every magazine cover? When you see these collages where they're all holding up a 666 over their eye, now, that must be a huge coincidence. They all just happen to think it was a great pose for the cover of Time magazine. I mean, give me a break. So the X sign, the Antichrist and Nimrod worship, this dates back to Freemasonry. Okay, this is the reason that holidays like, you know, Christmas, the Christ is replaced with the X. Because these people worship the Antichrist. I thank you for listening to today's show. I hope you found this video useful. God bless you and your families.